Hello, you welcome to News Hour live on GBC News, your news and governance channel. We are also live on GTV and streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Micheline Taka. You're most welcome. The government is rolling out a scheme to grant teachers subsidies for loans for them to purchase homes at locations of their choice across the country. The 10,000 housing units could also be acquired on rental basis. President Akufo-Addo announced this at the ongoing 6th Quadrennial Delegates Conference of the Ghana National Teachers Association in the Ashanti region. Members of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, are meeting to evaluate strategies of the association and adopt new policies for the years ahead. The Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Dr. Anthony Yauba, described NAT as a worthy partner of the TUC.
What you need to do is to constantly renew your commitment to the values that have seen NAT through the last 90 years. And these are unity, solidarity, democracy, respect for your own constitution, social justice, economic justice, distributive justice, fairness, and above all, promoting and protecting the collective interests of teachers through social partnership and social dialogue.
The Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Mr. Ignatius Bafwewa, commended the association for the Tier 3 pension scheme and urged other unions to learn from it. He said public sector workers will enjoy a 7% salary increment this year from the 4% received last year.
We endured a difficult time during the period of COVID. But, Mr. President, you insisted that under no condition should any Ghanaian public worker lose his job during the period of COVID, in spite of the difficulties that the country was going through. Through that, we were able to safeguard the work of every public sector worker in Ghana, including teachers, for which members of NAT are included.
President Akufo-Addo announced his government's plans to build affordable housing units for teachers within the next 2 years.
I'm fully aware that one challenge facing teacher ownership of homes beyond finance is their inability to purchase homes where they intend to retire. The Ministry of Education is working with the National Service Scheme on this. In addition, the Ministry of Works and Housing is in discussion with teacher unions, including your own, to provide more housing opportunities for teachers. Within the next 2 years, it is proposed that 10,000 housing units on affordable terms will be developed for teachers across the country.
The Teachers and Educational Workers Union, TEU, is urging the government to pay non-teaching staff of the Ghana Education Service their continuous professional development CPD allowance. According to the union, the non-teaching staff have been sidelined while their teaching counterparts have received 2 tranches of the allowance, which was announced in 2020. We are joined on the line by the General Secretary of TEU, Mr. Mark Denchra Crunchy, to explain their demand. Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for making time for GBC News. We are most grateful.
Thank you.
Can you explain into detail what TEU is asking for?
Thank you. Let me wish all this and TEU members about continuous development allowance was announced in the headquarters by the then for information Minister for Education, and subsequently December 20 teachers were, but the announcement was that teachers were 1,200.
Mr. Crunchy, I'm having difficulty hearing you clearly. Can you position yourself well so that you come again?
Hello, is it better?
Well, it's better now.
Okay. So teachers were supposed to receive 1,200 and non-teaching staff 600. That was the announcement that the minister made. Now, when the payment was being made, they said professional teachers received 1,200. Non-professional teachers received 800. Non-teaching staff were not paid anything. We did a follow-up trying to get our members, the non-teaching staff, also to be paid. Unfortunately, because it was so close to 2020 elections, we couldn't get any positive response from government sector. And so we went and came back last year, January 2021. We did a follow-up and did a follow-up. We were not getting the needed response that we needed. But in March 2021, when the president was presenting the State of the Nation address, the president again indicated that he has paid the continuous professional allowance to both teaching and non-teaching staff. So a lot of administration started. And our members were of the feeling that their leaders are not fighting hard enough for them. And so we followed up and we're having the discussions with 3 years management and then the Minister of Education. But it didn't yield any positive results. So in November last year, again, the teachers were paid their second tranche and leaving out the non-teaching staff. So that raised another level of concerns among our members. And this is what we took to our National Executive Council. And the National Executive Council resolved, among others, that if this allowance is not paid, then we should advise ourselves accordingly as we enter into the new year. So that is what precipitated our press conference yesterday, and we declared the strike. But I must say that this morning, the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, specifically the Deputy Minister, called us into a meeting, and the meeting had the presence of GES management and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. And at that meeting, we resolved that a technical committee which has been formed to earlier on look at these issues, they reconvene immediately. So the technical committee is going to meet tomorrow and have the issues looked at and then bring up their recommendations for further action by our employers. So as a result of that meeting, we are asking our members to suspend the strike action from tomorrow, because as for today, the day is almost ended. So from tomorrow, they will have to go to work because the strike action is on suspension. That we are pending the outcome of the technical committee's work. We will determine whether to call the strike off entirely or we'll resume the strike.
Point well made, sir. But quickly, how important is this allowance to the performance of non-teaching staff? Can you brief us?
As the name implies, it is continuous professional development allowance. So it is expected that this allowance would enable our members to continually develop themselves to be able to work effectively and efficiently in their area of work. So it is important that they are able to develop themselves and be able to fit into the system that they operate. And that is why we think that if government will pay to the teaching class and leave out the non-teaching class, then there is an imbalance, which we think must be corrected.
Thank you very much for your time and for the explanation. We are most grateful. I was speaking with the General Secretary of TEWO, Mr. Mark Dentra Crunchy, who says they have currently called off the strike following a meeting with the Ministry of Education and the GES. The academic year for basic schools across the country is expected to begin this month. As schools prepare to reopen after the holidays, we are finding more about the scheduled dates for reopening vis-a-vis measures put in place by the Ghana Education Service to ensure that COVID-19 safety protocols are observed at schools. The Director of Public Relations at the Ghana Education Service, Mr. Akwesi Kwateng, joins us via Zoom to explain. Hello, good afternoon, sir. Hello, good afternoon, sir. Can you hear me? So that we can have his submission. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Are you able to hear me too?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for making time for GBC News this afternoon. What is the
you are welcome.
What is the reopening date for schools this academic year?
Okay, very well. Thank you very much once again for the opportunity. And of course, Happy New Year to you all.
Thank you.
I mean, you will recall that in the past, of course, I mean, due to the number of reforms that the ministry with these agencies were actually implementing, of course, I mean, vis-a-vis the COVID, there was some distortions in academic calendars. And not even the straight academic calendar per se, but even if you look at when we used to write our exams, for instance, the WASI, the BEC, a lot of them were changed, of course, due to the structural reforms that were undertaken at the ministries, and of course, I mean, partly also due to the COVID. And so, under the instruction or the directive of the Minister for Education, the Honorable Dr. Oduchum, he's actually set up a ministerial committee on schools calendar. Of course, I mean, chaired by the Deputy Minister for Education in charge of general education, the Honorable Reverend John Intim Fodjo, which of course has, I mean, gotten in touch with all the relevant stakeholders, i.e. the Ghana Education Service. This time around, we also have the TVET service on board, and the school heads, and of course, I mean, Charles and all other relevant stakeholders to be able to find a lasting solution to this. So, as I speak with you, there is a meeting ongoing between all these stakeholders, of course, to finalize the timetable, not only for the 2021-22 academic year, but even beyond 2022-2023, and of course, 2024 academic year, so that we wouldn't be seeing that distortion that we used to have in the past. So we are very hopeful hopefully by close of week or maximum next week, the new academic timetable will be announced for the pre-tertiary school. That is from the basic level up to the high schools. And when I say high schools, I'm referring to the junior high schools and the senior high schools. So very soon we are going to announce the new timetable, which includes all the reopening date, not for only this year or this academic year, but in subsequent years up to somewhere 2024.
While we await the dates, let's talk COVID. What are the measures in place with the surging of the Omicron variants?
Okay, thank you very much once again. I mean, so you will recall that, I mean, during the schools reopening, after the heat of the COVID, when some measures or some protocols were put in place, I mean, we are not doing anything really different. It's the same protocols that have been designed or, of course, I mean, advised by the Ghana Health Service. That is what we are following. I mean, students obviously are required to put on their mask, I mean, keep the social distance, wash their hands periodically with water and soap. And all these are the protocols that we are following. Of course, I mean, the Ghana Education Service, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, I mean, certainly, as we did earlier, will obviously provide the necessary materials in terms of tissues, in terms of Veronica buckets, in terms of soap, water, the nose masks, of course, I mean, to be able to, for students to be able to protect themselves against the COVID. So, I mean, it is something that we've done and we have the template, and I mean, we wouldn't depart from it because at the end of the day, we're able to get positive results from it. So it's the same thing that we are the same line that we are following.
Well, aside the GES curricula, some private schools have reopened. Will GES reopening dates affect their curricula or not?
So, like I said, when it comes to the public schools, there were some structural inefficiencies. And of course, I mean, it's partly due to COVID that distorted our academic calendar or timetable, I mean, in the whole. And of course, I mean, we also look at the reform that we also put in place, i.e. the introduction of, how do you call it, the curriculum, the standard-based curriculum. And of course, I mean, the process that has started to train also teachers so that we'll be able to also implement the common core curriculum also at the DHS level. So certainly, I mean, all this distorted the academic calendar. It is the more reason why that when it comes to this schools, and of course, I mean, the government will have to come out, or the ministry is coming out clearly with academic calendar. And so that we'll be able to do away with that level of distortion that we were seeing in the past. So let's wait, very soon announcement will be made, and I mean, that problem will be a thing of the past. I mean, the minister, like I said, has set up a ministerial committee to look into that. And hopefully by close of week, we expect the leadership of Reverend or the Honorable Minister in Team Pojo to be able to bring this whole challenge, at least be able to find solutions.
Very well. Just to satisfy curiosity, when are the BEC results going to be announced?
As of now, I mean, WAEC, I think we will have to, how do you call it, get such an information from WAEC and communicate soon. So I think it's something that I'll follow up from WAEC. But usually those are decisions and that are largely determined by WAEC. And of course, I mean, we'll confirm and communicate soon.
Thank you very much, sir. We are most grateful for your time. I was speaking with the Director of Public Relations at the Ghana Education Service, Mr. Akwesi Kwartin, who says that by close of week, the dates will be announced for the reopening of the 2022 and 2023-2024 academic calendars. The civil service has put measures in place to motivate personnel in the service to put their best this year. The head of the civil service, Nana Kwesi Ejekum Dramina, made the disclosure to GBC News in Accra when the news team visited the ministries and wanted to know their plans for 2022.
The civil service, otherwise known as ministries, is a non-political body of government officials who are employed in civil occupations. They include administrative assistants and officers who carry out clerical and administrative duties. They help to ensure that government policies are developed and put into effect. In line with calls for improved productivity in the public sector, GBC News made contact with the civil service to find out about its performance plan for 2022. The news team spoke to the head of service, Nana Kwesi Ejekum Dramina.
We focus more on the systems that we can put in place, the strategies that we can put in place to ensure that people deliver within the context. Setting the targets, system for improving interrelationships, systems for capacity building, which we have done the last 3-4 years. Government has been very supportive of the civil service.
Giving his New Year message, he entreated civil service staff to do better.
We believe that if the civil service performs and performs well, it has a domino effect on all the other services. And so that is my hope, that we in the civil service will perform as expected.
He cautioned the personnel not to be partisan in the executions of their duties to the nation.
all the countries that have developed the world over, they develop because we have an efficient and effective civil service. My call to you this year, as I've always done in the last 3-4 years, is that let us rise, let us deliver, let us remain non-partisan. Everybody who comes to us, let us provide services without fear or favor. Let's be able to speak truth to power.
The Kumasi International Airport will receive its first international flight in October this year. Flight simulation starts in June to pave way for full operation in the last quarter of the year. The Ashanti Regional Minister, Mr. Simon Osei-Mensah, disclosed this during his quarterly inspection tour of ongoing projects in the region.
The regional minister first inspected the Ahuju-Sokoban Trede Road, which is over 90% complete. The 10% left is as a result of delays in payment of compensation to owners of houses, EMI for devolution at the Sokoban Township, as well as the relocation of a community shrine. The minister and his entourage also inspected the Santase and Riankwanta Road project. The project is being undertaken by Mercer's Kojob construction firm. Work is steadily progressing and expected to be completed in 2 years.
I'm highly satisfied. I've made it as a policy to inspect some major projects going on in the region every quarter. So if you've noted, almost every 3 months, I visit some of these projects.
The regional minister said most road projects delay unduly as a result of payment of compensation. The Regional Project Evaluation Implementation Committee will therefore be revived to facilitate payment of compensation by contractors to avoid unnecessary delay in project execution. The minister directed utility providers whose lines impede smooth execution of road construction to relocate them. Mr. Osei-Mensah said so far he is satisfied with the projects being executed in the metropolis. The minister also visited the over 40-year-old mother and baby care unit project at the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital. The team also inspected the Phase 2 project of the KJTR Central Market. All traders have been moved to pave the way for execution of the project. The final port of call was the Kumasi International Airport Extension project. The regional minister was hopeful that the October 2022 deadline for completion would be met.
The indefinite strike declared by the Ghana Association of Certified Anesthetists is ongoing at most health facilities across the country. This has affected surgical operations, especially in public hospitals. At Cape Coast in the Central Region, our correspondent Kofi Sechama Pobi visited some health facilities to interact with members of the association and joins us on phone with an update. Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Michelle.
What did you find out, first of all, when you visited the hospital?
Well, as you rightly indicated, the anesthetists here in the region is also joining their counterparts throughout the country to embark on this strike. According to them, they want better condition of service, especially when it comes to some allowances which have been unpaid for some time now. So during my rounds, I observed that indeed some of the emergency centers, though they were working, the anesthetists were not on site to assist the doctors to do whatever they are supposed to do, because we know the importance of anesthesia that plays within a surgical context. So that is the situation in the region. They are hoping that in some few weeks or in a few days, the Minister of Health will come out to come and tell them what exactly is happening at their front. Until then, they are still on strike.
Well, what is happening currently in the hospitals? Is it that operations are on hold, or they are working partially, or what they are even presence there for in the first place?
Well, I spoke to some of the management people who were tight-lipped. You know how things are, the bureaucracies. So I observed that though they are on strike, some of them are partially working. because definitely the human life is very important. So they are still playing that role to assist surgical operations. So though they are on strike, partially I can say that they are still working. But indeed, we know that once some of them are on strike and they don't have the full support or the full human resource within the theater, definitely it will affect surgical operations.
Well,
so those that I spoke to who have visited the hospital or those who have been booked for operations express a little bit of concern and worry, because if you have been booked for an operation without an anesthetic, the operation cannot be successful, because at the end of the day, they are going to monitor the condition of patients. So this is a very critical department that the government and then all stakeholders should have a second look, so that they can suspend their strike, so that we can have the quality healthcare delivery, especially in our theaters and then in surgical operations.
Kofi, before I let you go, what are they saying? Has there been a meeting with the powers that matter in this situation, or what is it? What is the dialogue process like? Or they are just
according to some of the executive members, they are having meetings behind closed doors, and they believe that maybe within this week the minister will come up for a statement to them so that they can settle this impasse. So for now, they are only waiting for the leadership, and then the minister, that is the health minister, who had a crunch meeting with the leadership to come up with the solutions and how they are going to resolve this impasse. So leadership is still in talks with the government. So let's hope for the better, that the ministry will accept whatever condition of services or meet them halfway, so that we can settle this problem, which is seriously affecting our hospitals.
Thank you very much, Kofi. The Central Regional Branch of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, has registered about 140 vehicles so far this year. The number, according to the regional manager, Mr. Lawrence Adom, is more than what was recorded at the beginning of last year. We apologize for the loss in sound. We'll be back shortly with that story. Time to make way for business. Do stay.
Good afternoon. It's January 5, 2022. My name is Morris Ogbete. Time to bring you update from the business space. Now, Ghana's labor front experiencing some turbulence in the last couple of days. The effect is not limited to the educational and health sectors where strike actions are frequent. The general economy certainly feels the effect of the uncertainties. How do we curb these disturbances with the potential of throwing the 2022 budget out of gear? Mr. Austin Game is a labor and ADR consultant. He joins us with some solutions. Good afternoon to you, sir. If you can hear me, are we at the point comparative to the movement we saw in 2010, 2011, 2012, where there were a lot of strike actions because of the single spine salary structure introduction?
Thank you, and a Happy New Year to you and your listeners.
Right.
Surely, we are in difficult times. As you know already, even our parliament itself is in a turmoil of a kind. They're trying to find a solution. Of course, the system will have to be overhauled in one way or the other through a lot of dialogue and engagement to reverse this kind of trend. Otherwise, we'll be out to have a very difficult time. If you see, I live in Tema, and I can tell you the harbor is a bit turbulent now because of the removal of the values on payment of this to government, and it's creating a lot of anxiety. Coupled with this problem of the teachers, of course, I'm happy to hear from your news bulletin that some committee have been put in place and that it will be resolved. I'm hoping so. The rest of them, let's look up to the authorities to engage the people to enable them resolve the differences. But I think that we are in for a very long haul if we don't address the issues that have been left open to be addressed.
And how do you address these issues, sir?
Obviously, inclusivity is a very important part of our life. If people know that they care about them, they are involved in decision-making, they've been told in a transparent manner that, look, these concerns that you have can be addressed. However, these are the challenges that we have. This is the way we think we should address it. They may empathize with you and agree to hold on a while. But if you make it difficult for them, that is to say that you are not open to them, you do not want them to be involved in the discussion, then they will have to take their destiny into their own hands. That is where the difficulty and the challenges will be.
Right.
I think that what we need to do is to create enough avenue, create employment opportunities for a lot of people to get jobs to do.
Right.
And that is what the aim should be for the year 2022.
So if I get you right, we should be concerned the kind of turbulence we're seeing on the labor front, even though not widespread, as I said, like we saw somewhere in 2010, 2011, we should be concerned.
Sure, we should be concerned, and but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that if they can listen to advice and get the people involved, the people who have concerns, like UTAC, for instance, they have concerns. You better call them to a meeting almost immediately.
Right.
Yeah, and allow them to express their views. If you have employers' view, state it. What can you do for them? State it. And be very transparent. If they know that you lie to them or you say things that you cannot do, they will not have confidence in you. It will bring problems.
Right.
I just want to take this advantage to say that it's important that we all in our small corners find a way of supporting and making life a bit bearable for all.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, and Mr. Austin Game, is a labor consultant there. Now, the Ghana Stock Exchange ended 2021 as the second best performing stock market in Africa in both dollar and cedi terms. In dollar terms, the exchange recorded 38.59 return to investors, whilst investors enjoyed 43.66% gain in local terms. The Lusaka Securities Exchange was the best performing stock market in Africa, registering 93.2% in dollar term and 52.21% in local term for investors. On the other hand, the Malawi Stock Exchange was third with a return of 32.24% and 40.05% dollar and local term respectively. Now, head of investment banking at CDH, Mr. James Alfo, has been speaking to GBC News on factors that drove the performance of the Ghana Stock Exchange.
We did 43.66%. That's at the end of the year, 2021. Nigeria did around 6%.
6%? Wow.
Yeah. Then Egypt even recorded negative, and that was negative, though it was very marginal, negative 0.5. Then Kenya did 0.23%. So relatively, we are on top. The market was very good.
What COVID has hit almost all these economies, including ours. What actually is helping us to be in the positive terrain?
I think it has to do with the confidence level of investors and the liquidity of the market itself. Because every investor has the idea of generating some wealth from whatever fund that you've invested. So if you have a stock on a market, is it something that can easily be sold when you need money? Mm-hmm. Is there opportunity for people to actually buy as much as they want? And these are some of the research that I think our market is working perfectly for us. It is very liquid. Most of the stocks, almost all the financial stocks, did extremely well last year. It can easily sell, it can easily buy as well. So these are some of the things that push the performance of the market to that level that we expect.
And so the Ghana Stock Exchange emerged the second best exchange on the African continent last year, 2021. Also in business, the immediate Director General of the State Interest and Governance Authority, Mr. Stephen Asamoah-Boateng, has called on Ghanaians this year to exhibit selflessness in working towards building the Ghanaian economy amidst COVID-19.
Resolve to change if you have to, or resolve to improve if you have to. The key to development is always to improve. It's also always to grow. Continuously learn and train your staff, and don't ignore your staff. But the only other advice to Ghanaians is understand the two key words of life, which is fairness and caring. If that enters our life, we should be happy, because you should care for somebody and should be fair when you are treating somebody. If you don't care, you're not fair, you are selfish. Basically, that's what it is. With the goodwill we have and the goodwill of the new year, let's not throw away our life. Let's stay safe, please, and let's welcome the new year with God, mercy, and grace on all of us.
And that'll do for business. The news will continue after this break with Michelin. Stay with us.